And welcome to TUTV. This is our final episode before spring break. I'm Joe McCurdy.
And I'm Sarah Moore. Joe, what are you doing for spring break?
I'm not doing anything, unfortunately.
Honestly, that's the best answer.
Yeah, I guess.
I love not doing anything.
I don't know. It's $1,000 to fly back to Syracuse. So I won't be doing that.
Yeah, that's not worth it.
No.
I'm going home for the first couple days, and then I'm going to a photography conference in St. Louis.
I love photography. That's like the only thing I do.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of it, but I took photography last semester, and there's not a lot of...
There's a photography class?
Yes!
There's
need to photography
take
majors, you should take it.
I'm trying to find classes that will fill my schedule before I graduate. Because right now I need like 20 credits before I graduate, which is crazy.
You should take photography. The first photography class is a film.
What is it under?
It's just like a film photography class. It's with the art department. And Dan Farnham teaches it. He's super cool. But the first, you take it on a film camera and you learn how to process the film and you learn how to print the photos. And then you can take the next two photography classes are digital.
Sweet.
It's super cool. You should take it.
Awesome. I never knew. So maybe I will.
Well, now you know. Everyone should take art classes. So. Well, to wrap up, we got to move on, but we will see you in a bit.
We'll be back.
Hello Tulsa, I'm Hunter Lynn.
And I'm Avery Jamerson. We have some informative news for you this week, so let's get right to it. Last Thursday, President Joe Biden delivered the annual State of the Union address, a speech that drew praise and relief from the Democratic colleagues and has been called one of the president's best. Biden touched on plenty of major issues facing the United States, from the war in Ukraine to China to the economy. Much of his speech was directed at former President Donald Trump, Biden's presumptive opponent in November's election, although Trump was never mentioned by name. Perhaps the most talked about consequence of Biden's address was its effects on Democrats, many of whom came away from the speech newly reassured in Biden's ability to run a successful campaign in 2024. Biden's campaign received $10 million in donations within the first day after the address. The Republican response to the address, delivered by Republican Senator Katie Britt from the kitchen of her Montgomery, Alabama home, was widely criticized by Democrats and Republicans for being out of touch and potentially turning women voters away from the GOP.
Yesterday, President Biden submitted his plan for next year's budget, a move that is more symbolic than functional and looks to demonstrate the president's commitment to raising taxes on the wealthy and providing social services. The $7.3 trillion budget would increase the U.S.'s net taxes by over 7%, lowering the deficit by $3 trillion in 10 years. The plan would make prescription drugs, housing, and child care more affordable, while slightly increasing the military budget over this year's. Such expenditures would be covered by increased taxes on the wealthy and corporations, including the reversal of a Trump-era tax cut that decreased the corporate tax rate by 7%. House Speaker Mike Johnson criticized Biden's plan, saying, quote, "The price tag of President Biden's proposed budget is yet another glaring reminder of this administration's insatiable appetite for reckless spending," end quote. It is important to note that the national deficit increased by nearly $8 trillion during the Trump presidency.
The Republic of China has made no secret of its world power intentions, and a military agreement recently signed between China and the Maldives will likely boost Chinese President Xi Jinping's ambitions in the Indian Ocean. The Maldives, a tiny island nation and popular tourist destination, occupies a strategic position in the Indian Ocean. The Chinese-Maldivian agreement, which provision of military and quote, to the Maldives will allow a strategic foothold less than 400 miles from the coast of India, China's main strategic rival in the region. Many in India view the pact as, quote, an escalation, end quote, according to the Observer Research Foundation, a New Delhi-based think tank. The Indian Navy recently exercised its 2 aircraft carriers, including the INS Vikrant, the first to be built in the country. Last week, India inaugurated a naval base on the island of Minicoy, less than 300 miles from the Maldivian capital, Malé.
Earlier this month, Yuri Borisov, Director General of Roscosmos, the Russian space agency, announced that Russia and China were, quote, seriously considering a project, end quote, to construct a nuclear power station on the moon within the next 10 years. While the plan is not military in nature, it has drawn concern from the United States, which considers Russia a serious threat to the demilitarization of outer space. Last month, Russian plans for a nuclear anti-satellite bomb were declassified to the American public. A State Department spokesperson said that, quote, for launches of any space nuclear system, the United States believes all nations must ensure a rigorous, risk-informed safety analysis.
Only days after assuming their roles, the leaders of the Republican National Committee have begun firing dozens of staffers in a move to bring the organization firmly into the shadow of former President Donald Trump. Chair Michael Whatley and co-chair Laura Trump, Trump's daughter-in-law, were elected unanimously last week after the former president coerced former chair Ronna McDaniel into resigning. The new chairs have since laid off over 60 officials in an organization with only 200 paid employees. 5 senior staff members have been asked to resign. The move is just one in a series of Republican submissions to former President Trump as the 2024 election draws near. According to the New York Times, the RNC's finance and digital teams will soon be moved to Palm Beach, Florida, home of the Trump campaign. So lots of interesting news this week.
Would agree.
Yeah, I think kind of a little crossover. We have some stories about China and the US, which is just making me think of some recent developments regarding TikTok. The US government is once again cracking down on TikTok. They think TikTok's kind of spying for China, is my understanding. Have you heard about that?
Yes, I have, and it's interesting to see how these competitions between great powers have kind of metastasized into digital space as you see the development of the internet, and especially in the future with generative AI, which could mimic images and even the voices of political leaders.
And that is very profound. Can't follow that up. But we have more news for you later, so see you next week.
Welcome back to TUTV. I'm Joe McCurdy, and we are with our interview today. We're with Brian Lavender of TU Grad AI and ML Club.
Yes.
First off, Brian, tell us what those letters mean.
So the TU AI and ML Club is a club on campus that is to promote artificial intelligence and machine learning. That's what the AI and ML stand for.
Sweet. And are we looking for grad students, undergrad?
Yeah, so we're looking for grad students of all disciplinaries, and we do accept undergrads, although sadly there is a limit to the amount of undergrads that we can accept.
What about AI has really pushed this club to, form?
So most of the research in AI has been about AI, and now we're seeing a broad expansion of AI into other disciplinaries, such as biology or chemistry. And so we really want to highlight the interdisciplinary use of AI.
Yeah. And what got you into AI?
So I really like math, and I really like video games, and just the idea of being able to play alongside a robot that's actually better than you is actually really interesting to me.
Right. Were you able to, like FIFA, you can set the level of who you're playing? Sort
yeah. That's
am I
sort
following
of
a little bit?
Yeah, that's sort of the level. Yeah.
Okay. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Where's AI really taking us? Because it's been something that's come to fruition over the past 5 or so years.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
So we definitely saw a blow up of AI and ML after ChatGPT. And so it definitely has good sides and bad sides with all technology. So for the good sides, we're seeing technologies that can help with medicine, it can help with chemistry, it can help with robotics, it can help with space travel. But on the bad side, we're seeing things that dominate art markets with generative images. We also see mimicking voices of politicians, and these are all dangerous technologies as well. So it's a good and a bad.
Well, if somebody wants to come, Where are you guys meeting? When and where?
So we meet noon in the Razor Hall upstairs at the Graves Commons on Fridays.
Scary place.
Yeah, Graves Commons.
Well, I am personally encapsulated with AI because it's just been something that is all over the news recently. It's really taking over all of these different areas, and it's, for me, it's something that I would love to learn more about. I know Professor Ben Peters in the Media Studies department is a huge AI kind of expert. He just got back from Russia writing a book on AI, and it's really good to see that Tulsa is kind of getting a step ahead with what AI is and being able to have these students reach out and kind of be the front runners, be the pioneers of this new kind of technological landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are new to AI or anything like that, we want all disciplinaries to come and be a part of this because the technology affects us all, as we've seen in the past 3 years. So if you don't understand it much, don't be scared. We're hosting workshops to teach people about it more, and if you are interested in it and passionate about it and want to voice your opinion, we also want to hear that as well.
Well, unless you have anything else, Brian?
No, I think that's about it.
All right,
Hope to see you noon at Fridays at noon.
Fridays at noon. Razor Hall.
Razor Hall, Graves
Sweet.
Commons.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll get back to the desk.
Welcome back, Tulsa. I'm Hunter Lynn.
And I'm Brenton Jennings. Hey, we got some exciting sports news to get into. Let's get right into it. With a trip to the AAC tournament on the line, Tulsa had one final home game to build momentum going into this week's games. USF came into Tulsa as the American Conference winner, along with being the #1 seed and number 24 ranked team in the country. And in all-time meetings against number 24 seeded teams, Tulsa is 2-0. It's been over 3 years since Tulsa last had won a top 25 win, with its last victory coming in 2020 against number 5 Houston. In their last home game of the season, Tulsa put on a show for the largest crowd of the season. PJ Haggerty ended the game with another career high of 32 points, with Kobe Williams having one of his best performances of the year, recording a double-double with 23 points and 11 rebounds. In their final home game, Tulsa snapped USF's 15-game win streak, securing a 76-70 victory to cap off the regular season.
After securing the #1 seed and a share in the American Conference Championship, Tulsa women's basketball's regular season success was not translated to the American Conference tournament. Tulsa had the best draw going into the tournament and was slated to play the #9 seeded ECU Pirates. The Pirates came into the quarterfinals with a win already under their belts, defeating Memphis just the day before. Tulsa had their worst game of the season and their biggest moment of the year. Tamira Poindexter was the only TU player with any offensive production, recording 31 points. Tulsa's fall came by the hand of bad shooting, only hitting 25% of their shots, and late-game turnovers with 13. Losing 75-71, Tulsa's chances of an NCAA tournament bid are slim to none, and they will most likely see an NIT run.
Tulsa softball entered conference play with a road sweep over rival Memphis. Tulsa recorded their first no-hitter of the season, securing one of the 2 shutouts they had over the weekend. Tulsa's offense was the star this weekend, scoring 24 runs over the weekend compared to the 2 total runs Memphis scored. On Friday, Tulsa had their 5th run rule and first no-hitter of the year, scoring 9 runs in the first 3 innings lead to the 5-inning game and kept the Tigers' bats quiet. Saturday, Memphis avoided a second shutout, scoring 2 runs in the 4th inning, but a 4-run 7th inning from Tulsa secured the 8-2 win. Tulsa capped off the weekend with yet another shutout, where Memphis only had 2 hits. The 7-0 victory gives Tulsa their 15th win of the season and will be back at home for a midweek game against Iowa State.
Tulsa's men's and women's tennis teams are slowly building back momentum after a rough start to the season for both programs. Tulsa women's tennis is on a 3-game win streak, with wins coming against Furman, UT Arlington, and Abilene Christian. The Golden Hurricane only dropped a total of 4 sets across those 3 games, with their last match ending in a clean 7-0 sweep. For the men's team, success comes in small quantities. After 2 bounce-back wins against Drake and North Dakota, Tulsa fell in another close match to UCF. After being up 2-0, Tulsa lost momentum after UCF secured 3 straight points, inevitably defeating Tulsa 4-3. Both teams head on the road before returning home in late March.
NFL free agency is in full swing, with some big names receiving some even bigger deals. Quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins are receiving deals over $100 million. After a playoff run, Mayfield will receive a $100 million contract with $50 million guaranteed to stay with the Buccaneers. Cousins, who had a season-ending injury with the Vikings last year, will be receiving $180 million to be Atlanta's starting quarterback. Other positions are getting their payday as well. Kansas City defensive star Chris Jones agreed to a 5-year, $95 million deal to stay with the Chiefs. Other big names who didn't receive offers will now be on the market, like former first-round pick Saquon Barkley and Cincinnati wide receiver T. Higgins. All seem to be looking for teams that are willing to pay.
Now, Brenton, this is actually a recent development, but I just got the news that Saquon Barkley is in fact being signed by the Philadelphia Eagles, which comes as a little bit of a joyous occasion for me after seeing him run all over us the past couple of years.
For sure, yeah. There's been a lot of players that stay within the division of that they played for, just switching teams. But yeah, this is day 2 of the legal tampering period, and there's a lot of players that, especially maybe that aren't star players, are getting big contracts.
Certainly. Yes, I'm glad that Saquon will finally boost our run game. I know it was good in our Super Bowl run, but then it fell off. We lost some key players. What surprised me was Kirk Cousins receiving such a big deal. We know about his performance in big games. The question becomes, can he lead his new team to the Super Bowl?
I guess we'll see.
It's a young roster.
Well, we'll see. I'm Brenton.
And I'm Hunter, and we will see you in a few minutes. Welcome back, Tulsa. I'm Hunter Lynn.
And I'm Avery Jamerson. We have some thrilling entertainment news this week, so let's get to it. Oppenheimer reigned supreme at 96 Academy Awards on Sunday night, taking home 7 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Actor. Hosted by Jimmy Kimmel and held at the Dolby Theater in Los Angeles, California, the night was marked by emotional speeches and star appearances, such as the Batman villains Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, as streaking John Cena and surprise guest Al Pacino. Oscar winners included Emma Stone, Robert Downey Jr., and Billie Eilish, who made history as the youngest 2-time Oscar recipient for her original song, What Was I Made For, from Barbie. Poor Things carried the runner-up position with 4 victories, including Stone for Best Leading Actress, while the British film The Zone of Interest took Best International Feature and Best Sound. Kimmel opened the show with an acknowledgement of the lengthy writers and actors strike this past year, while also highlighting technical and background employees and vowing to stand with them as they began their own negotiations with major studios. Several winners used their speeches to condemn the ongoing violence in both Gaza and Ukraine, the latter of which was showcased by Best Documentary winner in 20 Days in Mariupol. A full list of winners can be found at oscars.org.
Sports entertainment giant WWE has a new sponsor in the form of Prime Hydration, the flavored beverage company created by social media influencers Logan Paul and KSI. The deal, which is said to be the largest sponsor partnership in the company's history, will include unprecedented branding, including event titling, ring mat branding, and social media support from WWE superstars. WWE will add to the brand's substantial sponsorship portfolio, which also includes the UFC, Los Angeles Dodgers, and FC Barcelona. This sponsorship deal comes with little surprise, considering co-owner Logan Paul's expanding presence in WWE. where he has made viral appearances at multiple flagship events and currently holds the United States Championship within the show's scripted narrative.
Hannah Gutierrez-Reed has been found guilty of involuntary manslaughter regarding the tragic fatal shooting on the Rust film set that resulted in the death of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins on October 21, 2021. The 2021 incident occurred when actor Alec Baldwin unintentionally fired a live round from a prop gun that pierced both Hutchins and director Joel Souza, who was injured but survived. The trial was focused not on the shooting itself, but rather the failures of Gutierrez-Reed as the film's armorer to maintain weapon safety on set. After 3 hours of deliberation, jurors acquitted Gutierrez-Reed of a separate charge related to evidence tampering, but found her responsible for multiple safety failures on set that led to live rounds in the firearm and a lack of required ammunition testing that would have prevented the shooting. Defense attorney James Balls unsuccessfully argued that on-set management issues contributed to a chaotic filming environment, as well as Baldwin's unsafe handling of the prop's firearm during the scene. A sentencing date has not been announced.
Former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson will fight social media star turned boxer Jake Paul, Netflix announced last Thursday. This will be Tyson's first boxing event since an exhibition bout against Roy Jones Jr. in 2020 that ended in a draw. Since turning to professional boxing 4 years ago, Jake Paul has gone 9-1, including 6 knockouts against mostly unknown opponents. Tyson, who is 30 years Paul's senior, was undisputed champion for 3 years before retiring in 2005. In a statement from a CBS article, Tyson said of Paul, quote, "It will be a lot of fun to see what the will and ambition of a kid can do with the experience and aptitude of a GOAT," end quote. The event is scheduled for July 20th at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, and will be broadcast live on Netflix, the streaming platform announced via a social media post that also contained a brief trailer of the fight.
Oscars guest star Al Pacino is under fire following the perplexing delivery of the Best Picture winner at Sunday's Academy Awards ceremony. Shuffling on stage, the famed actor shockingly skipped the recognition of all 10 nominees, instead jumping straight into the envelope. The 83-year-old star seemed unsure of the result, stating that, quote, "My eyes see Oppenheimer," end quote. The perplexing delivery left many in Dolby Theater and at home initially confused, and significant criticism was levied against Pacino for seemingly ignoring the other 9 films. The actor has since responded to a statement to Deadline claiming that show producers instructed him to skip the announcement at Best Picture nominees, since the 10 films had been showcased individually during the rest of the show. Affirming his support for the filmmakers, Pacino recognized the significance of an Oscar nomination as a milestone, stating, quote, "He deeply emphasized with filmmakers, actors, and producers who have been slighted by this oversight," end quote. All right, so a lot about the Oscars. Did you watch the Oscars?
I did not watch the Oscars. I watched only 3 movies this year, in fact.
That is so fair. Were any of them at the Oscars?
All 3 of them were. It started with Oppenheimer, it was then Barbie, and then Killers of the Flower Moon. I happen to like all 3 of them, in fact.
Do you have a favorite out of those 3?
Oppenheimer is probably my favorite. I love the narrative that was told, and the scene design was pretty incredible, in my opinion.
That is great. I did not see that one. Definitely need to. I did see Barbie, and Killers of the Flower Moon is definitely at the top of my list.
I highly recommend all 3 of those. Especially, I'm interested in the zone of interest. In fact, it's interesting how a film can portray the horrors of the Holocaust without once explicitly showing what actually took place inside a concentration camp.
Intriguing. So that's all the time we have for today. We'll see you next week.
Hi, and welcome back to me and Joe. Joe,
Hi, Sarah.
What would you like to talk about? Did you watch the Oscars?
I
don't watch them either.
I knew who was gonna win, Oppenheimer. I think it's just kind of funny to watch Bradley Cooper, like, slowly die inside. He's been at what, 12-ish award shows, and all of his, the Best Actor nominations all went to Cillian Murphy.
Yeah.
And he spent 6 years working on what's it called? the conductor, whatever, I don't know.
Maestro.
Maestro, yes.
Which I have not watched. I hadn't even
Haven't
heard
either.
of it until I saw a TikTok about Maestro, and I was like, oh, this sounds very intriguing.
I think
Maybe I'll
the
watch
only
it.
movies I watched from this year's Oscars were Barbie,
I watched Barbie.
Oppenheimer,
I didn't watch Oppenheimer.
the Spider-Man movie.
Spider-Man was
amazing. Yeah, it got nominated for
best like animated.
Best animated.
Did it win?
No, it lost. It lost to the Boy and the Heron, which is like anime.
That's
sort of. But
Studio Ghibli.
yeah, Studio Ghibli, which is amazing. I haven't seen the movie, but I've heard it's amazing and that it was expected to win. And all of the Spider-Man fans are like, I don't want. And it's like it's the better movie.
I haven't seen it yet, but it's like if Studio Ghibli's, I mean, they haven't made a movie in a while.
Good movies.
And so for them to come out and make a movie, like even though Spider-Man was incredible and I love it, it's like for Studio Ghibli.
And they already won. The first one won an Oscar. Like
exactly. I'm not upset that they got to win something. You know, like it's cool.
It's politics. So.
Yeah. Well, it's fun for a non-American movie to win too. Like that's always I feel like that
Robert
doesn't
Downey
happen that
Jr.
often. Oh my God! Did you see about how what's his name? The stupid Jimmy Kimmel was like making all these awful jokes about Robert Downey Jr. during the Oscars.
I didn't.
He was like making jokes about him like being in jail and doing drugs.
I feel like RBJ kind of like encapsulates it. Like he owns it.
He does
It's
own
a part
it.
of his personality.
It is, but Jimmy Kimmel sucks and is mean. Anyways.
The award hosts haven't been good recently.
No, they haven't. They've been terrible.
Have
We're much
us host.
better hosts.
We'll host.
Yes, we'll host the Oscars. We'll do a great job.
So.
Well, that is all the time we have for this week. We will see you guys after spring break.
After spring break. Have a good one.